Today, we're going to do a little crowdsourcing here of my retirement plan. Today, what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of show you my portfolio as best. Well, I'm going to show you my portfolio as best as I can, break it down for you, and kind of get your advice. So let me give you a little homework up front. I'm 58 years old. I'm retired. My wife is still working for a couple years. She's 59. She's a teacher. She's off in the summer. So what I wanted to do is show you my portfolio and just get your thoughts on it. So this is obviously I try and show this at the beginning of every video. This is where we're at with Right Capital, where my retirement plan gives us probability of success. Okay, let's switch to this. Okay, so I'm going to go through this as quick as I can. So basically what I did at the top is I've qualified our portfolio by risk, and then I go through and do each one, and then at the bottom I break it down and do some grand totals, because what I'm going to be asking you for is your opinion on this portfolio. So just cruise through it real quick. So first of all is our no risk stuff, right? So my no risk stuff, I have an annuity at 4.45% for 3 years, and it has 452,000 in it. It's pre-tax dollars. I've got a government portfolio with 113,000 in it. That's in my 401k. It's also pre-tax dollars. I have a Roth. It's in Fidelity Government, which is Treasury, short-term Treasury bills. So it's totally no risk. 14,000. It's in a Roth. I have a CD. So those are basically my investment pieces that are in the no risk zone. I have a CD that will expire or it gets redeemed whatever January 2026. It's 4.5%, 113,000 after tax. I have 80,000 in savings accounts that render about 3.6% again after tax, obviously. And then I have a local bank, I have like $8,000 in there with pretty much nothing. They don't give me anything. And then I have in my Weiss 403b, we've got 21,000 in pre-tax in this guaranteed fixed. And I don't know what it is because they don't really tell you much on her investment site. So then I don't really have anything in low risk that I consider low risk, especially in light of what's gone on with the bond market in 2022 and 23. It's been pretty well known now that the stock market can crash and so can the bond market. So I don't really have anything in low risk. So let's look at medium risk. NASDAQ, I've got 140,000 in a NASDAQ index fund. It's all pre-tax. I also have this Fidelity Strategic Real Return Fund, FSRKX. I have 195,000 in it. Again, pre-tax, 401k stuff. I'm probably going to get rid of it because the expense ratio is 0.7. It's supposed to be like a balanced fund, a balanced income fund. So it has real estate in it, bonds in it, like a mix of stuff. But it's supposed to be kind of like a realistic, safe income fund. I have a Fidelity 500 index fund. I have 523,000 of that in pre-tax. Expense ratio is like nothing. I'm going to get rid of this because I'm going to get rid of this Fidelity Strategic Return Fund because it has a 0.7 expense ratio. But I've always liked how it was balanced. I got a Fidelity. My wife has a Fidelity 500 index at 18,000. I'm sorry. I have a Fidelity 500 index at 18,000. It's a Roth. I have also this. Basically, what you're seeing is I have some stuff. When my 401k had an option where I could put into a backdoor Roth, it distributed it the same way across the two funds, so you see the same thing. So this is 5,000 in a Roth. This is my wife's stuff, right? International Global Fund for 9,000, a 500 index for 96,000, a value traded equity for 33,000, and then a mid cap for 24,500. I consider all these medium risk stuff. Then I have a high risk. I don't have anything in high risk. Again, I'm 58, I'm retired, so I want to go low risk, but I'm just curious what everyone else thinks. So here we have, this is some of my wife's stuff. She's got 4,300 in pre-tax small cap and then 8,600 in mid cap growth. So whenever I think of growth, I think of risk. So that's our pre-tax. So if you look at our totals down here, we got 800,000 in no risk, which makes up 43% of the entire portfolio. We've got $1,043,000 in medium risk, which makes up 56% of the portfolio. And then we have 12,900 in high risk, which makes up 0.69% of the portfolio. So that gives me my grand total of 1,857,400. Okay, so now this is just a little bit of a breakdown right here of what you're looking at is total pre-tax, which is really the whole in my whole plan, which I'm going to do some stuff with Roths and with withdrawals and stuff like that. But right now, I just want you to focus on, you could comment on whatever you want, but I'm just curious about the portfolio, not necessarily whether it's pre-tax or post-tax. I just let you know to give you all the information. So total pre-tax is most of my bucket, which is a shame. It's 86% pre-tax, which really sucks. But like I said, next year, I'm going to start pulling out using Roth conversions and things of that nature. When I turn 59 and a half, I'm going to start pulling stuff out. After tax, I have 238,000, and of course that includes all my banks, CDs, stuff like that. So in total, 86% is pre-tax, 12% is post-tax. Okay, so let's talk about our disposition a little, which always in our financial disposition, which always impacts, where you should put your investments. Okay, so my basic, and like I said, my strategy is much more complex than this, but I'm just kind of giving you an average glimpse. We in our budget, we have go-go years, long-term disability, like healthcare, all sorts of stuff. But it would be kind of out of the scope of this conversation. I have other videos that cover that stuff. But in this one, I just kind of want to give you a general feel. So in general, our roughly is 99 grand a year, roughly for the next, 10 years or whatever. Well, it gets higher than that when we go into our go-go years. But generally, these are our living expenses right now. So welcome to Jersey. So with Beth working, if you look at this formula right now, my wife she'll work for 2 more years. So if our expenses are 99,000, she covers roughly half of that. So just what I was trying to do with this is show you guys like how much with the current portfolio, how much of our living expense is covered in our no risk or medium risk, whatever, or high risk, like or just no risk. How many years of expenses generally can I cover in the no risk zone in our current situation? So my wife's going to work for another couple of years. Based on that, I say I take all my columns, all my no risk stuff, and divide it by 50,000 because she covers 50,000 a year. I cover the other half. And so that puts me at 16 years. Now, here's the thing. And I'm going to talk about this still in other videos, but we're going to isolate this, keep it short because I know people's time is valuable. So without Beth working, what's going to happen is a couple of years, she's going to transition from working to retirement. But the nice thing is she gets a pension for 25. She gets a couple pensions from New York and New Jersey for working as a teacher. But she gets roughly, we're going to have her collect Social Security at 62. I'm going to collect Social Security at 67 or 70, depending on how it goes, since hers is the lower of the two Social Securities. And I think I've talked about that too. So basically what we're talking about is when she retires, even though right now she's getting 50,000 a year by working, and she makes more than that, but we have stuff taken out and union dues and all that stuff. But the second she stops working, I'm going to have her file for Social Security and she'll qualify for a pension. So her two pensions will come out to be 25,000 a year and her Social Security is 1,700 a month. So that almost puts her, that's what's so great about this, right? So if I take those two numbers and then she goes 12 months, like Social Security, she'll get 12 months. Now she only gets paid 10 months out of the year. So that's whatever, 1,700 times 12, that's 12,000, that's 21,000 roughly, plus 25,000. I guess I'm in like the 46, 47,000. I had it at 53,000. So what you'll see is I take my total and divide it by 53,000 because she's going to cover that half. In other words, that's what she's going to cover. And then our portfolio will have to cover the rest. So that gives me another 15 years. So I'm just trying to give you as much information so that when you come, when you start putting in the comments what you think about this stuff, you've got as much as you need to know. Keep in mind, I have a very low propensity for risk, mainly because I look at things this way: is what are things that prevent us from living the life we want to live. So I have a whole budget thing on where I spend stuff. There's a video on that, like what are our different budgets and stuff. But generally, I mean, this is going to go up. Like when we have to do healthcare, this is going to go up. I have all this planned out. Like I said, I'll just give you a brief glance. Like I use this software called Right Capital, and I have everything planned out. So this is more just to get people's opinion on this, not so much how much we spend. But so I would venture to say this 15 in reality, because over the next 15 years we're going to be um, going on more vacations, a lot of stuff when she retires, and I have to pay for healthcare out of the Affordable Care Act. So this is probably more like maybe 12, maybe 12. Like if I take this, let's just say I take this and it's got to cover more. Let's just say it's got to cover 20 something more thousand. What if we put 73,023 in here? So 11 years. So let's just say, just the rough number, even though I have the specifics, but it shouldn't be too applicable here. It's 11 years in my no risk that would cover once Beth stops working. So that's basically what I'm looking for. I'm putting it all out there for you guys. I'm curious what your thoughts are. I'm curious how you feel. Like I guess my guess is what people are going to do is they're going to look at this and say, "Oh, you should be more aggressive in your medium risk." In all honesty, when I did the percentages, this is actually a little more than I wanted. This is almost like a 60-40 split on the stock side. Which I kind of want to go the other way. I kind of want to go 60% in no risk stuff and 40% in risk stuff. Maybe when you come back at me, you're going to say, "Hey, Steve, I think some of these things are low risk." Because probably what I'd like to do, just looking at this, I'd probably like to put some more stuff in low risk. Like I think just looking at these 4 buckets, the thing I'm missing is some low risk stuff. And I don't consider Fidelity 500. I don't consider a 500 index low risk. I definitely don't consider NASDAQ low risk. Um, Mid cap's not low risk. Like I said, these are all medium risk to me. Maybe this Fidelity Strategic Real Return Fund is low risk. I don't know, but this is probably the bucket I'm looking to fill. But the reason I'm doing this video is to get your thoughts. What are your thoughts? What are you doing for your portfolio? Not specifics, obviously. That's my thing. But let me know what you think. Don't forget, I'm 58. Debt is fairly low. Wife's going to retire in probably just 2 years from teaching because we can go on vacations and stuff in the summer because she's off in the summer. So she can provide our health care and go a little longer. So thanks again. I appreciate your time. I try and keep this short. That's going to be a new policy, is keeping it short, keeping it brief, because I value your time. So have a great day, and thanks for listening to the channel.